Hey guys, and welcome back to another Engine 4 tutorial. Today is part 6 of our Animal AI series. So in this one, we're going to be going over giving the animal noise. And this is going to be for when they're walking, when they're eating, when they're running, when they get attacked, when they die. Anywhere where you want to add noise, I'm going to be showing you the basics of how to do that, so you can then adapt onto it and build onto it further to then put noises wherever you'd like in your game. So the first thing we want to do is we want to actually import these sound effects. So as I've mentioned in every episode, or as I've linked in every episode, sorry, I've got a downloadable folder with all the different sound effects and assets in that we are using. They haven't actually got the raw sound effects in, they have links to the sound effects where I got them from. So I got them all from Freesound, so I've got the links to there, so they still get the download for when you download them as well, just to give them a bit more credit. So again, go get those audio files, or use any ones which you want, and then just import them in. So for me, that's going to be my sound effects folder, because I've already imported them in, and I have eating here. So I have a folder for eating, because as you can see, we have 3 different ones. We've got eating, footsteps, and hurt. They're the sound effects I'm going over. So I have eating, we have these different grazing sound effects here, which I've just cut up from a larger audio file. Same with grass, these are the Minecraft ones, however on Freesound they are free to use. And then I also have hurt here as well, which again, this is also cut up from a longer audio file. So once you've got those in, let's go to our footsteps ones, and we want to create some cues. So you see, I already have these here. I'm going to leave them in as they are referenced in my character because I'm using the same sounds, and also my older deer for the reference. However, you won't have them. So what I'm going to do is select all of my grass footsteps, right click on them, and create a cue. Right click the sand footsteps, create cue, and right click the stone footstep, create cue. And do that for all of the ones which you have. And once you've done that, you should have all of your different cues here for all the different footsteps. So again, I've got grass footstep cue, sand footstep cue, and stone rock footstep cue. Again, create those, and we'll open those up. So open up all the cues which you have. And they'll probably look something like this. So what you want to do is just have your sound effects in here. So sorry, actually, if you select them all and hit create cue, it's going to create one for each individual sound effect, which we don't want. We just want one cue. So you can right click on one of them and hit create cue, or right click, go to sounds, and then create sound cue. And once you've opened it up, so let me just delete everything in this grass one to show you. Once you've opened up the cue, you'll have something like this. I'm going to minimize this a bit, but so I can still see everything else. Select all of my grass footstep sound effects and drag and drop them into the sound cue here. So now I have all of these footstep sounds in here. What I do now is I'm going to come out of grass footstep 1 and get a random node, adding the maximum amount of inputs I need. So I have 4 sound effects, so I've got 4 inputs. Putting in the sound effect in each one of these inputs, like so. Like that. And out of the output of this random, I'm going to get a modulator, and the modulator is going to go into the output of the sound cue like so, and as you heard, it then played a random one. So if I press space, it's just going to play a sound effect, and it's picking a random one each time. So that just went backwards. However, as you see, it is random. It's obviously just got a 25% chance to play each one, as I only have 4 in here. So this is what you want to do for each and every sound cue you have. Again, for my sand and rock, I only have 1, so I've just imported that straight in there. You do want to make sure that they are still cues, however, because that's how we have the location. If we don't have them in a queue, we won't have location on there. So let's save that. Now to actually enable the location on there, what we want to do is we want to scroll down until we find override attenuation, and we want to tick it. So again, for you it'll be off. So we want to tick override attenuation, go back up to the top, and we want to change the inner radius and the fall off distance. So you can see again, I've already got mine, but what I can do is if I just drag and drop this in here, you can see that this inner circle here is the inner radius, and the outer circle is the fall off distance. So in this inner circle, that's where you're going to hear the sound effect at its max volume. So anywhere in there is going to be the max volume of the sound effect, and anywhere in the outer circle is going to be fading in and out. So as you get closer, it's going to be getting louder. As you get further away, it'll be getting quieter. So I found that these values are good for me. What you can do is if you go to the details panel, you can change these settings here as well. So if we tick override attenuation on this as well, and then go down until we have the attenuation settings here, I'm going to keep the inner radius to 400 and decrease the fall off radius. So you can see here, this is changing that. So again, get the values you want on here, and find the values which you find perfect for you. So it might be 400 and 1000, or it might be 200, 600, anything along those lines. Just get these perfect for you. And then make sure you remember those values, go back into your sound cue, and import those values in here. So inner radius is what you want, fall off distance is what you want as well. Again, getting them from here. I'm just going to delete that. So that is how we're making our sound effects. So we've got the actual sound effect themselves, put them into a sound cue, made them random if we wanted that, and also modified the attenuation so we have location-based sound effects. So we can save and close all of those like so, as that's all we need to do with them at the moment. Next, we want to make it so we actually play the sound effects when we want. So to start off with, I'm going to be doing the footsteps, as you can tell, because I've created them here. So to do this, I'm going to go to Content, and I'm going to go to my animations. So for me, that's Animal Variety Pack, Deer, Stag and Doe, Animations, and you can see we have access to all of these here. You want to make sure that you do this on all of the animations that you want sound effects to play on. So if you've done this before for the third person character, it's the exact same process. So I want this to happen on my walking and my running. I can do jump as well, however I don't have a jump animation for this, but again, any animation you want sound effects to play on, open that up. So again, for me, that's just walk and run. So let's do walk first. So anim, deer, doe, walk here, and as you can see, it's walking. So I'm just going to pause that, move it back to the start. What we want to look for is where the foot is hitting the ground. So if we move it over, I'm going to go for this back left foot first. I think it's hitting the floor there. Around frame 5, that foot lands on the floor. So what I'm going to do when I hit that is I'm going to right click on this notifies track here, add notify, new notify, name this one footstep. If you want left and right footsteps, you can do footstep L, footstep R, but for me, I'm just going to have it as footstep. Again, making sure that is at frame 5 for me, so I'm going to move it ever so slightly, maybe a bit more, so it's on frame 5. So now when it goes there, that's when the footstep hits the ground. I'll move it just back, just a little bit like so. Then I'll go for the next footstep. So it's looking like it's the front left, and it is, which was around frame 16. So now I'm going to right click on the notifies track, add notify. Now I can go to skeleton notifies and add footstep there, as I've already created it. We now have the correct notify in there. It's going to move again to the next one, which looks like it's directly after that. So around frame 20, I'd say. Right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, footstep. Keep going for the final one, which is right at the very end. So I'm going to right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, footstep, right at the very end. Now we have 4 different notifies for 4 different feet. So whenever a foot hits the floor, it's going to send a notify or a notification to our animation blueprint, telling it to fire off some code. That code is going to be playing the footstep sound effect. As you see, it's going to do that for all of these different ones that we have here, which works perfectly for us. So we can save and close that. And again, do this for every single animation you want. So I'm going to do walk, and I'm also going to do run. So my anim, deer, doe, run should be somewhere around here. There it is. Open that up and do the same thing. So for this one, it's going to be a bit more simple. So it's going to be the very start and the very end. So let me do the start first. Let's do it around there. Frame 1 seems fine. Right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, footstep. Again, so they're all on the same notify. And then find the next one. Right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, footstep. So now again, we're going to have the footsteps for when they're running like so, which is again going to work perfectly for us. Save, close that. I'll say it one final time. Do that for every single animation you want sound effects to play on. Now we want to do something for when we actually trigger that notify, which again, like I said, is playing the sound effect. So I'm going to go to my animation blueprint, which for me is just in the deer, stag and doe, new deer, doe and MVP. And I'm going to go straight over to the event graph in here like so. You should have this set up from previous episodes. Underneath this, I'm going to right click and get notify footstep. So if we have event anim notify footstep, if you don't have the others, don't worry, we're going to make those later on. Again, anim notify footstep. Out of this, we want to see which surface we're on, because I'm creating a dynamic system here for different footstep sound effects. So I'm going to come out of this and get a line trace by channel, so we can see which surface. So we're going to draw a line. Start is just going to be the location. So we're going to right click and try get pawn owner. Out of this, we're going to get actor location, like so. And this location is going to be a location of our deer. So that can go straight into the start there, because we want to start drawing a line from where the deer is. And we want to go from where the deer is, straight down to the ground. So we can come out the return value of the get actor location, get a vector minus a vector, and we're just going to take off 150 in the Z. So just put in 150 in the Z, put that into the end, and so now it's going to get the location, start drawing a line from there, and it's going to draw the line 150 units down, which should hopefully hit the floor. If it doesn't hit the floor, then we don't want to actually play a sound effect, because they're not going to be on the floor. but that should be good enough for us. Again, I've done quite a bit of testing with it. You can change draw debug type to full duration to test it out and have a look at it, although actually I will show you just so we know what it's doing. So when I hit play and we get in, you see it's walking around, and whenever a foot hits the floor, it's going to draw a line straight down to the ground. So whenever you see a red line, that's when it would have played a footstep. And if we make it run, which we did in the previous video, you see it's playing different ones there. So that works perfectly. So I'm going to change that back to none. So that's a handy little debug tool there. After this, I'm going to hold down B, left click to get a branch, condition being the return value, execution going in there. So again, we're only going to fire this off if we hit something, i.e. we hit the floor. And the out hit, I'm going to come out of that and break hit result. So we have access to all these different values here. I'm also, just above this, come out of the out hit again, and I'm also going to get surface type. So again, we can see which surface we're on, so we know which sound effect we want to play. After the return value of the get surface type, we're going to get a switch on E physical surface, connecting that into the true of the branch, so again, if we hit something. And now you can see we have the different surface types we have. So I've got grass, sand, and rock. So what I'm going to do is just after this, I'm going to right click and get play sound at location. Again, we want the location, which is why we made the sound cues. And we're going to right click sound and hit promote to variable, naming this footstep sound, footstep sound effect, anything like that, just put that above there. Now what we want to do is we want to set this to be different sound effects. So I'm going to drag and drop it in, drag it onto grass to set it there. Drag it onto sand to do the same thing, to set it. I'll do the same with rock as well. And actually I will also do it on default. So we have this here like so. So we're setting our footstep sound effect to be different dependent on which surface we land on. And all of these can connect into the play sound at location, so no matter which surface we're on, it's going to play a sound effect. The top one, so off of default, I'm going to leave as blank, as I don't really want it to play a sound effect if it isn't on a correct surface, but that's not going to be a bother for me in this project. Grass, I'm going to obviously have as my grass footstep cue. Make sure it's the cue that we made earlier. Sand is going to be the same, so again the sand cue which you made, and the same with rock. Obviously do these for whichever ones you've created and whichever ones you want to use in your project. So now what we're doing is when the deer is walking, it's going to play the correct sound effect based on the correct surface which they're standing on and walking on. However, the location is going to be 0, 0, 0. So for this, we can just go into the location of this break hit result we got earlier. I'll close that, and I'll just double click these to get some root nodes. So now this is very simple. This is the dynamic system done. So whenever we want to play the footstep sound effect, which we did by opening the animations, setting up the notifies, we're going to draw a line from the deer's current location 150 units down to the ground. If it hits something, it's going to see which surface type the deer is currently walking on, and then play the correct sound effect based on that value. So like I say, this is the dynamic footstep system done for the deer, or whichever animal you're using. Then we compile, save this, and I'm also going to close that, because now we're going to set up grazing, or eating sound effects, which obviously for deer, it's grazing. So again, I'm going to go to content, sound effect, eating, and again I already have these set up, once again linked in the description down below, to the full sound effect file, which again I just cut up, which is also linked in the description down below of how I did that. That's all in a downloadable file. Once again, make a queue, so right click on one of these, create queue, drag and drop them into this new queue with the random and modulator, which we set up previously with the grass one. Exact same process, drag them all in, put them into a random, get a modulator. Now it's going to play a random eating sound effect whenever we want to call this. So let's close that like so. Also, set up the attenuation here. So scroll down, tick override attenuation, and change these settings and values to whatever you choose, which again I showed you how to do that before. I'll show you the size that I have on this one. You have to be pretty close to it. It's a much smaller area. Close that, and again we're going to do a similar process. So we're going to open up those animations again that we want to play the sound effect on. So for me that's content, animal variety pack, deer, stag and doe, animations. Then I only really want to play this on my animation for looping the deer eating. Because like I say, we made one for going down, we made one for going up, and we have one for looping. I just want it for the loop eat, which for me is named anim deer doe graze idle, I believe. Yeah, idle graze. I'm going to open that up, and as you see, this is what this looks like. So when the animal is in this animation, it's going to play the sound effects for eating. Once again, do this for any animation that you want. Not only any, but every as well. And I'm going to go back and just put these wherever I want, because there isn't really a visual cue other than them chewing but the player is not really going to see that, so you can place these wherever you want. I'm going to go along with the chewing roughly, so I think around here maybe, just around frame 20. Right click on the notifies, add notify, but this time instead of getting a new notify like we did previously, we're going to instead just get a play sound. So that way it's doing it for us automatically. We don't need to do anything else in the animation blueprint like we did with the footsteps, it's just going to do this for us already. The reason we didn't do that with the footsteps is because, like I say, we made the dynamic system so that we can then decide which surface we're on, so we can play a different sound effect. With this one, we just want to play the same one. So I'm going to do it like this. And again, if you have different animations for maybe eating meat or eating grass, then you can do different ones in those. Or if you have it all in the same animation, you can set up a dynamic system like we did with the footsteps, so it can then decide which one it's eating. So now I'm going to select that play sound here. I'm just going to set the sound to what I want. So for me, that's going to be grazing sound cue like so. Again, making sure it's the sound cue. And then I'm going to go to where I want another one. Let's say around here, around frame 45. Right click, add notify, play sound. Again, making sure this is my grazing sound cue. So it's very simple to do. As you can see, it's quite a repetitive task. Once you do it once, you really understand what it is that you're doing. You're just simply putting in positions in the animation for where you want something to fire off. So whether you want it to fire off a notify to do another line of code, or whether you just want it to fire off a sound effect like we have here. Very simple to wrap your head around. And a lot of people don't realize that this add notify play sound is a thing as well. They do the previous one where they just add a normal notify and then play a sound effect, whereas you can just do this, which does the exact same thing, except it's much more efficient. So I'm going to save and close that, again doing it for every animation which you want. And the final one I'm going to do is getting hurt. So once again, I'm going to create those sound effects. So that's sound effect, hurt. I've got these ones here, which again is from a longer audio file which I've cut up. All links in the description down below. Put this into a sound cue, doing it the same way as before. Drag and dropping them into the cue we made, into a random, then into a modulator. I don't need to go over the process each and every single time, because like I said before, once you've done it once, you know exactly what it is that you're doing, and you should be able to tell just from looking at this. Once again, we're going to override attenuation, and then change the fall off distance and inner radius to what we want. I left this one the same as the footstep sound effects, but you can put them as whatever you want. This is what I have. So sorry if it seems like I'm going a little bit fast. I'm just kind of skipping through these bits here and there a little bit, just because I've gone over it multiple times in this same video now. I think you should know what it is that you're doing. And obviously if you don't, you can go to that other part or ask me in the comments down below. So again, my apologies if it's a little fast, but I've gone through this multiple times in this video. And then once you've set up that sound cue, we're going to close it. And then what we're going to do is we're not actually going to do this on the animation. So you can do it on the animation if you want of them getting hurt. However, I wanted to play it on both the animation for hurt and animation for death without having to put it on both animations. So instead of doing it twice, I'm just doing it once. That's both for efficiency and a bit of laziness for a lot of people. But again, it is a little bit more efficient because otherwise every time it plays that animation, it's reading data, whereas I don't really want or need it to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is open up my Deer BP. So for me that's content, animal variety pack, deer stag and doe, new deer doe, not an BP, just a BP, so just a normal blueprint for it. And then I'm going to go over to my damage code, which I have over here. Where is it? Sorry, here it is. So take damage. What I'm going to do is just after we set the health here, I'm going to move that back a bit, move this up a bit, and in between the set health and the branch, I'm going to get a play sound at location. Let me just move this out a little bit further, just to give us a bit more space. And then the sound effect I'm going to put in here is obviously going to be my hurt sound cue there, or hurt doe cue. Location we can just have as get actor location, so it's getting the location of the animal currently. So again, that way it's just ever so slightly more efficient. Won't make a huge difference, but maybe if you're on a lower end PC or you're playing this animation a lot, it can make a difference in the long run. So I'm going to compile, save that, and now that should work perfectly for us as well. So what we've done is we've set up now all the different sound effects which I'm going to do in this video. Once again, like I said earlier, it's the same process for each one. So you just go in and change the animation, or in this case, play the sound effect when a certain action happens. So if you want more sound effects for different actions, you can do that either via the animation, or for example, if it's regaining health, you can do it here. Because I don't have an animation for that, so you can just do that here. Do as many as you want, wherever you want. I'm going to close this, hit play to test it out, and also do the outro while we're listening to it. So actually what I'll do is I'll just get the animations in, so we don't have to wait around for it. So let me just get the idle graze in there so we don't have to wait for it. Let me hit play, and if we go over here, you can see we can hear him eating every time we need to. So he's eating, we walk away from it, we can't hear it anymore, we get closer, slowly fades in, and we can then hear it. If we go over here, we can hear it then walking. And if I were to spook it, you can hear it then running away, or if I were to shoot it, you can hear it get hurt. So this all works perfectly for us. So I just backed out so I can talk for a second, but I think that'll be it for this video, as we've done everything we want to do. We've set it up so that we can actually give the animal sound effects. For example, we have eating, over here we have walking, we also have taking damage, and also running. So this works perfectly for us, and again, as you hear, it went onto sand, it's now playing different sound effects. The sound effects aren't great for the sand, however you can see the actual functionality of going between grass and sand does work. So thanks so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe down below. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.